Video games work hard to set rules. Who you are, what you're supposed to be doing, who you're supposed to be defeating, etc. But you put up so many barriers that occasionally you need something that's gonna knock them down for you.
Not to glamorize the consumption of drugs too much, but one of the benefits of playing video games is that it lets you live out scenarios that would otherwise be pretty difficult, or maybe just straight up dangerous to be a part of in real life. And while I'm not here to endorse drugs in any way, I would recommend the times they show up in video games. When that happens, there are no rules. But of course there's a few when talking about them in a video. There are a lot of moments in gaming that seem surreal or bizarre enough to potentially be influenced or experienced by taking drugs, but unless it's explicitly shown or at least heavily implied, I'm not going to worry about it. Also helps if the outcome matches whatever substance was taken. Ingesting mushrooms will do a lot to you, but physically making you larger or even giving you an inflated self-esteem? Not sure about that. Fighting a giant lizard is kidnap your girlfriend though. Maybe Super Mario Bros. Is more realistic than we first thought. There's probably going to be a few spoiler warnings here, and they're due to some of the better drug trips out there actually having some purpose within their game. But at least at the start I feel I can get away with not having one, even though it does act as the last level in Hotline Miami 2. That's because, as you may well know if you've played this game, scenes like these don't make a lot of sense even with context.
Hotline Miami 2 is one of those games that takes a few playthroughs to really understand what the hell's going on. At times it feels like this long, out-of-sequence drugs trip, but you have to take what's going on for a certain amount of face value. It's only when some guy goes a little too far with the drugs that it really starts to kick off.
So here's the problem with describing hallucinations like these. It's quite hard to distinguish between what's merely a drug-induced fabrication and something that's simply been augmented by the drug. Although, to be fair in this case, there's a few moments, like what I guess is the final battle against this weird swan monster, or the giant tiger, that are clearly there for when the game teeters over the edge and into the pit of insanity below. Even during Hotline Miami's more bizarre moments, it always felt like the answers were just a couple of playthroughs away. But there's parts of this which feel like they were just put in for the sake of being weird. Not sure what significance there is that the son, that's this guy, that his facial sprite swallows his game sprite. Probably not worth fretting over for too long.
Mother 3, that whimsical RPG where you fight various forms of wildlife and try and cope in a world that clearly was not meant to be traversed by a small child. It's a game that does a lot of questionable things, but it doesn't even try and hide a drugs trip. It couldn't be more in plain sight.
I mean, I guess you could and probably should expect this kind of thing from Mother 3, but I still struggle to cope with how bluntly this game handles it. It's almost literally, here's some mushrooms, they're kinda funky. Oh, it seems like you're tripping balls now. Oh well. At least it tries to hold it all together with some whimsy. You might now be in this nightmarishly pink world full of various atrocities, but at least you feel dandy. And of course, the trip you go on is hardly going to be fun considering the tone Mother 3 likes to hide on occasion. Dotted around the area are a few of the characters from earlier in the game that you left behind, like Flint and Klaus. But it's okay because they're actually eerie smiles, and fuck, you see so many of those during your time here that it doesn't take too long for this face to be burned into the back of your mind. So how do you get out of this situation? Oh, simple, you just need someone to hit you over the head with a piece of 2x4. That'll knock the mushrooms right out of you. Probably doesn't apply in real life, but it couldn't hurt much. When it comes to taking drugs, the Far Cry series is in a class of its own. Granted, I've only played 3 and 4, but in those 2 games alone you put enough substances in your body to put an elephant in a coma. You know, I guess that makes sense. You can probably expect the drug consumption to be pretty wild in far-off countries like these, but at least these games use them in a productive way. Burning half a dozen marijuana fields while inhaling the smoke? A good start. Tearing through enemy soldiers under the influence of hallucinogenics? Get in there. That fucking sequence where you're supposedly walking the path of the warrior? Yeah, now we're talking. Poor Jason Brody didn't have the best holiday, but in trying to make it better and save his friends from the clutches of some very crazy people, Jason enlists the help of some slightly less crazy people. They teach him by giving him drugs, and the trips he takes gives him courage, vision, no fucking idea. The only problem is that once Jason has rescued everyone, the less crazy people don't want him to leave. And so their leader Lemon, no, Citra, she blows some magic powder in your face in one last attempt to convince you to stay. Walking the path of the warrior might not have the variety of some of the other trips in the game, but fuck me, the atmosphere is insane. A lot of the moments with drugs are only really there to confuse you, but here we're going for full-on scare tactics. Hey, apparently the path of the warrior is full of psycho versions of your friends and an on-fire version of your girlfriend. And this is supposed to convince you to stay? At some point you're just gonna say, fuck it, let's go home.
Far Cry 3 gives you the choice of two endings, with this drug trip being the pivot between them. You can either leave Rook Island and return home with your friends, or you can kill your friends and join Citra as the new leader of the Rakia tribe, or at least until she kills you after you get her pregnant. It's an island full of crazies. I personally would get out of there as soon as possible.
Knit Stories is the name given to a freeware platformer by Nicholas Nygren, though its wider fame comes from the user-made levels constructed by the in-game stage editor. It's your basic jumpy game really, but something that titles like these really benefit from is that their simplicity can lead to a lot of creativity, as seen very prominently in a lot of the community levels. And when one of these levels is called Don't Eat the Mushroom, you probably shouldn't eat any mushrooms. I mean, you totally should, because you'd be hard-pressed to find a better way to spend 10 minutes, but be cautious.
Oh shit.
Moments like these get me asking the really important questions, such as, who made this? Did they make more? And of course, what is love? Eating the mushroom in Don't Eat the Mushroom is one of the best ideas you'll ever have, and even the Burger King jump scare at the start can't ruin it. This is a drug trip that just never knows when to stop, but rather than other jokes that keep going long after the initial shock has worn off, there's enough variety and sheer lunacy here for it to feel ridiculous all the way through. I mean, it's got brief moments from Tetris, Zelda, fucking NetHack, and it never loses momentum. Personal favourite has to be walking upside down on an earlier portion of the level, and hell, trying to post something on the support forum was pretty wacky. So yeah, don't eat that mushroom. Not sure you could handle the full blast of Hadaway with this backdrop. It'll either change you, or break you. I wouldn't say it's completely essential, as psychedelic drug trips don't have to have all that much significance, but I do appreciate it when they're put in at a moment in a game that has a decent amount of impact on the story. In other words, drug trips don't have to make sense, but it's nice when they do. And since Grand Theft Auto 5 is the game it is, there's plenty of instances where you take something a little too strong and suddenly you're shooting aliens with a minigun. Then comes the mission where Michael's side of the story starts to develop very quickly. He gets angry at a yoga instructor, goes to find his son, takes his son out for a drive so he can pick up some drugs, and yeah, pretty simple, good mission. It's only really when Jimmy convinces Michael to have a drink of said drugs does it become a truly great mission. So fine, we've got a bunch of angry chimps, alien abduction, and then this pretty spectacular freefall over Los Santos. But there's a lot more going on here than just what meets the eye. This trip marks a turning point in Michael's story where he becomes a little more aware of the problems within his family and his life in general. There's interesting metaphors here with loads of people teaming up on him, a feeling of being exposed and having no control, and hey, all those quotes being thrown at you while you fall from the sky. Don't need me for that one. That last bit especially, not just super trippy but almost relaxing in a way. It's like a gentle descent into madness. And let's be real here, it's a very GTA way of giving a character some kind of revelation. Pump 'em full of drugs and hope for the best.
This has been RabbidLuigi, and I sometimes think that the writers of GTA 5 don't get enough credit. I mean, fine, you can heap praise on the people who built this massive world and filled it full of interesting characters, but it doesn't feel like someone just decided to throw in this drugs trip and fill in the rest later. There's method behind this madness.
Got a topic that you'd like me to discuss in a countdown? Leave a suggestion in a comment below and head over to my Twitter, where I'll be holding a vote to decide the subject of the next countdown based off the best of your submissions. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed that. Bit of a weird topic this one, because I wanted to show off how drugs are handled in video games without really glamorizing them too much. I mean, you do get some awesome effects, and a lot of them are interactive, but I didn't really want to say that drugs really are the way to go. Basically, if you want like a shorthand version, the drug effects, they're cool. The drugs themselves and the taking the drugs, that's not cool. And I think if we balance that equation in the correct way, we end up with something which says like, video games are cool. Which, to be honest, is kind of what my channel is. It's me in a variety of different ways saying that, you know, video games are cool.